Quiet, please. Quiet, please. The Mutual Broadcasting System presents Quiet, Please, which is written and directed by Wyllis Cooper and which features Ernest Chappell. Quiet, Please for tonight is called I Always Marry Juliet.
I did knock. I assure you I knocked several times. I can read signs. It says knock before entering. And I knocked, and then I entered. Sir, my name is Rambo Bainbridge. I give you my card. Modestly, I may say that my name is not unknown in the theater. The Shakespearean theater, that is. I am no strolling player, a dashing hero in white flannels today, an elderly mountebank in a straw hat tomorrow. I have devoted my talents to the creations of the immortal bard, the sweet singer of Stratford-upon-Avon, the immortal Shakespeare himself. I take it you are not unfamiliar with his great works. Perhaps you have even seen me treading the boards in Macbeth. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. Or possibly as the noble Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. The evil that men do lives oft to them. The good is often tarred with their bones. I had great success in the part of Antony. However, my greatest triumphs have been in the romantic role of Romeo. Aha. Lady, by yonder blessed moon I swear that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is east, and Juliet is the sun. I always did better with that one. I beg your pardon.
I was trying to say, what can I do for you?
Why, my dear sir, I was given to understand that casting was going on here. Why else would I pay a visit to this, rather musty cubicle?
You talk a great deal.
Naturally, sir. Speaking is my profession. Speaking is my life, my being, my métier. You speak French? I have been told I speak it like a native. Où sont les niais d'antan? Lyon. But speak to myself briefly. I am prepared to deliver on short notice any one of a large number of Shakespearean parts. Othello, Romeo, Dromio, Bottom the Weaver, King Henry the IV, Fifth, Sixth, Petruchio, and Henry VIII.
I am reasonably familiar with the characters of Shakespeare, sir.
Good.
You say you have played Romeo?
Innumerable times, sir. 2 packed houses. I recall one time in, I believe it was in Moline, Illinois. Is Moline in Illinois? When they placed kitchen chairs in the aisles in addition to the hundreds of occupied seats in the house.
When did you last play Romeo?
Alas, it has been some time since. But I am a very quick study, sir, that I assure you. I could be up in several days, say 3 days.
What have you been doing recently?
I have just concluded a very successful run as, on the radio.
A Shakespearean role, no doubt?
I am sorry to say it was not. Although it was very interesting in a, shall I say, sordid way.
What night were you on?
This, sir, was an afternoon presentation.
Soap?
Phonograph needles.
And your part?
I played the part of Clapper Claw Duddy.
So?
Heavy, naturally. A part a little like a sort of poor man's Macbeth. Perhaps a touch of Casca.
And the part is finished now.
Sir, a regard for the truth compels me to admit I was replaced by a young man who had a different conception of the character of Clapper Claw Duddy.
They didn't appreciate your technique, I take it.
That director. I also read a commercial message.
My,
indeed. Well, sir, shall we look over the contract?
We'll see, Mr. Bainbridge. I seem vaguely to recall your name.
Yes. I was afraid of that.
I don't remember just how.
I am the man who married Juliet.
Ah, yes. That's it. Oh, yes.
Sir, you are a man of the world.
It's been said that I am.
I always wanted to grow a beard myself. I think I'd be very distinguished with a beard.
No doubt.
But always playing Romeo, you know, it can't be done. Besides, my beard always comes out straight. This half comes out red.
So, you're the man who married Juliet.
The man who always married Juliet.
Would you care to tell me about it?
I prefaced my remarks by suggesting that you are a man of the world, sir. As I myself am. I was young and ebullient when I first played Romeo to her Juliet. The city, let it be nameless, safe to explain that it was in central Illinois, a section of our great country at that time somewhat lost to culture. However, a group of young seekers after the light, theater-wise, ventured to put on Romeo and Juliet, and I was summoned from Chicago, where I'd been playing.
Playing Shakespeare?
At that juncture in my career, I was singing illustrated songs in a small house on South State Street. I shall never forget my first meeting with the young woman who played the part of Juliet.
And Elizabeth Beetler.
Why? How did you know that, sir?
One reads.
Oh, the newspapers. Ah, publicity. Well, Anne Elizabeth was young, Anne Elizabeth was beautiful, Anne Elizabeth was unsophisticated, I thought. I was introduced to her at our first rehearsal meeting, and I tell you, sir, I was bowled over. I could think of nothing to say to her but that lovely speech I first quoted to you from Act 2, Scene 2. Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that trips with silver all these booty. And she picked me up at once.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
And we went right through the scene, the entire scene, letter perfect, down to...
Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast, and so on. And I tell you, sir, the place rocked with the applause of our fellow players. And so we were married a week later in our costumes on the stage in the setting for Act 2, Scene 2. The romance of Romeo and Juliet was at last consummated in our persons. I like to think that the master himself, Shakespeare, would have liked that.
If Shakespeare had married him, there wouldn't have been any story.
Well, why, Jove, why, you know, I never thought of that. Perhaps he wouldn't have liked it then.
I expect.
Well, our marriage flourished for a time, and then there came the rift within the lute.
Tennyson, Idols of the King.
Indeed? I thought that was Shakespeare, too.
Tennyson.
I must make a note of that. Well, I remember we were playing in Dodge Center, Kansas, or Dodge City, Iowa, or some such place. Fort Dodge, Minnesota, I think. I had met a young woman, the daughter of a plastering contractor, in one of our previous stands, and we found a great deal in common. She was interested in watercolor painting. Her name, I'm afraid I don't remember after all these years. By a strange coincidence, she turned up in Lake Dodge, Nebraska, or wherever it was. As a man of the world, I could do no less than invite her to supper after the performance. You understand.
Of course.
And we were leaving the restaurant much later when we ran directly into Anne Elizabeth. There was little of the gentle Juliet about her, sir.
Well,
I was speechless. Anne Elizabeth wasn't.
so this is the friendly game of cards you're going to indulge in after the show. Well, I think I'll just shuffle you around a little bit. Oh, here's a hand for you, too.
Ouch!
You stay away from my husband. You're here.
It was intensely embarrassing. It was even more embarrassing when, 2 weeks later, Anne Elizabeth found me kissing the plasterer's daughter in Union Station in Minneapolis. Sir, those Minneapolis policemen are, rough and tumble.
And what did you do about it? Did you...
The crowning blow was when Anne Elizabeth purchased the traditional weapon of the outraged wife.
What?
A rolling pin. Playing the innocent, I asked her if she intended to bake an apple pie or two in our humble lodgings as we fared across the country.
What did she say to that?
No, darling Romeo. That I'm going to use to beat your brains out if I ever catch you with that woman again. So you'd better wear your crossover beard when you go out with her again if you don't want to wear this rolling pin for a hat.
She had a remarkably pungent manner of speech. I was both sorrowed and relieved when the balcony collapsed in Act 2, Scene 2, and she broke her neck.
How did that happen?
For some unaccountable reason, a stage brace seemed to have been removed. It was very depressing.
And then you married another Juliet?
It seems to me I've been marrying Juliets all my adult life. Yes, I married another. Faith McNulty. I was playing in Framingham, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts, or somewhere when I met her. Faith was not young. Faith was not beautiful. Faith was an execrable actress.
Why did you marry her?
It seemed a good idea at the time. As a matter of fact, it was leap year, and she asked me.
Rambo, if you'll marry me, I'll start a Shakespearean company of our own. And you can be the manager and do whatever plays you want to.
I thought, what will we use for money? But she answered that before I asked.
My great-aunt Ruth in Stafford Springs left me $89,000, Rambo.
Well, I assure you that put a different face on the matter. So we were married. We were married the day after we opened in Romeo and Juliet in South Boston. To most unfavorable notices, I must say. Mine were adequate, but poor Faith. I wish you could have heard her read that scene.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her encircled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
To borrow an expression from the street. Oh, boy. I pleaded with her to resign the feminine lead part and to allow me to find another actress. I told her she could be the manager. She could do anything she wanted to.
I am the manager, Rambo. I will do anything I want to. It's my money.
There is very little one can do to argue with that sort of thing, sir.
Yes, I should think so.
The woman had no shame, sir. Nightly I went on and suffered the torments of the darned. She had no sense of timing. She forgot lines. We had to hide prompters behind every tree, under every bench, outside the window in Friar Lawrence's cell. And I daily grew more and more haggard. That voice. I can hear it yet.
What if it be a poison which the friar subtly hath administered to have me dead?
Act 4, Scene 3.
That's right. In Juliet's chamber.
Well?
Scene 5, Act 4.
The nurse.
Alack, the day. She's dead. She's dead. She's dead!
Well, you seem to have cut quite a swath among the Juliets, sir.
Shakespeare killed her, too?
So he did. Well,
I don't know why I'm telling you all this, really.
probably because I asked you.
Well, there were really only 3 of them.
Oh, is that so? I thought there were more.
It just seems like more. Oh, if I never play Romeo and Juliet again, I'll be happy. How about Coriolanus? I don't exactly understand Coriolanus, but then I don't really understand much of Shakespeare either.
You don't?
It's just words, a lot of it, to me.
Well, what about Juliet number 3?
Oh, yes. That Juliet. Well, her name was really Juliet. And I'm afraid she's the only woman I ever loved in all my life.
Tell me about her.
Well, I suppose she was as close to the Juliet Shakespeare wrote about as any woman could be.
You think so?
Yes. Yes, I do. There wasn't a thing wrong with our marriage. We loved each other. There wasn't room for another woman in my life. Then.
Did you dispose of her, too?
I never fully realized my own inadequacies until I married Juliet. Why do I marry Juliet? What is it that makes me do it?
There is such a thing as destiny.
Destiny. Shakespeare was always talking about destiny and fate and those things I don't understand. But they work out, do they not?
Very often.
I have a picture of Juliet. Here.
3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform this rite. And all my fortunes at thy feet I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world.
It is my soul that calls upon my name.
Romeo.
How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo.
Yes, that's a very beautiful picture. And she's dead?
I wish I never had to play Romeo and Juliet again. I could play... You're doing Shakespeare, of course.
Oh, yes, nothing but Shakespeare.
Well, what kind of run do you expect?
How can anyone tell? With Shakespeare.
That's so. I remember once in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or Sheboygan, Michigan, I can never tell them apart. We played 5 solid weeks. And when we came back the next year, we had to cut the last act of A Merchant of Venice because a burlesque troupe from Chicago was coming into town. How about King Lear?
I've thought of King Lear.
Child of Roland to the Dark Tower came. His word was still, I, foe and fum. I smell the blood of a British man. Or, Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. But I suppose you'll be wanting to do Romeo and Juliet.
I do need a Romeo.
Well, then, gaze on me, sir.
You didn't tell me all about your latest Juliet.
Frankly, I would be very happy to be back in the theater.
I must confess that I murdered a Juliet once myself.
You did? Well, for goodness sake, I mean, by Jove, what kind of people are we? Did you really?
Yes.
Did you marry her, though?
Oh, no.
Oh, well, then. I married all of mine. 3 of them.
And the last one?
No. You tell me about the Juliet you killed first.
Oh, no.
Go on, please.
You first.
Well, I told you I loved her very much. She was good for my ego. I remember those nights after the show in hotels everywhere. It was always the same.
Rambo, let me get your slippers for you.
Thank you, my love. And would you fetch me a cold bottle of beer, too?
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. I'm afraid there isn't any beer left. I'll run out to the corner and get some.
Oh, thank you, dearest. If you're going to do that, would you mind picking up a cigar or 2 for me? Paratellas, please.
Of course, dear. Anything else?
And I would love a sandwich, if the restaurant is still open.
Do you want a magazine, too?
No, just evening papers. Oh, if you see a racing form, bring it along, too. Will you?
Of course, sweetheart. I'll be right back.
I hope you will, darling. That pink shirt, I wanted to wear it tomorrow.
I'll be back in time to iron it for you, dear. Or let me help you with your slippers first.
Oh, no. I guess I'm capable of taking care of myself, dear. You run along.
All right, Ted.
Wait! You didn't kiss me.
She sounds wonderful, sir.
She was always buying me things. Such neckties. I remember one. Oh, my dear sir. And such a cook. How many, many times I fell asleep to the sound of her washing the few dishes we had. After a succulent midnight meal of beef stroganoff, or chicken morengo, or chucrut garni. Cooked, my dear sir, over a gas flame in a room as often as not. And she never asked for a cent for herself. Always had a few extra dollars when I'd had a bad session at the track. And such an actress. You know, it's amazing. I never saw her play anything else but Juliet. I wish you could have seen her.
I'd like that very much.
Yes, you would.
And what did you say happened to her?
Well, she died.
Did you?
It was very odd. Singular, I mean.
What happened?
It was a Saturday night. I remember because we had no performance that night. We played only a Saturday matinee, then a matinee on Sunday. I'd been playing cards with some of the prominent citizens of the city we were playing in, and I came home about 10 o'clock. I expected to find Juliet asleep. She wasn't. She was standing in the center of our room with a strange man. And their arms were around each other. And they were kissing. It was very bad. Very, very bad.
You killed her?
Oh, no. I am afraid I was rather violent, though. I saw red, as the saying goes. The man, who was somewhat smaller than I threw downstairs. Juliet tried to explain, but she fainted. I was sorry she hit her head on the corner of the table, of course.
Is that what killed her?
Oh, no. I stormed out of the place and went out to a restaurant for dinner. And then after a full meal, I felt a little better, and I went back determined to forgive her. I was a little late. She had hanged herself.
That's too bad.
Yes, it was. How was I to know that the man she was kissing was her brother who had just dropped in to see us both? So, sometimes I can hear their voices, my Juliets. And Elizabeth.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon.
Faith.
That monthly changes in her encircled orb.
Juliet.
Lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
Well, come along then.
Am I, hired?
I think so. But I want you to read against Juliet first. Out here, to the stage.
Why, you've got it all dressed, haven't you?
Act 2, Scene 2.
Oh.
Over there by the balcony, if you please. Take it from Lady by Yonder Blessed Moon.
Well, where's Juliet?
Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you.
I say, that's familiar.
It's Shakespeare. Go on.
Well, Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her...
Here! What is this?
You talked about destiny, Rambo. Here's your destiny, and mine.
What?
This is the destiny we spoke of, friend. This is your fate, your punishment. There are the 3 you murdered. There is the one I slew.
I don't...
Remember, Juliet had to die to make the play. So, I found her poisoned.
Who the devil are you?
Why, I thought you knew, friend. My name is Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, at your service.
Quiet Please for tonight was called I Always Married Juliet. The man who spoke to you was Ernest Chappell. And James Monks played Shakespeare. The three Juliets were Margaret Draper, Abby Lewis, and Anne Seymour. Music for Quiet Please is played by Albert Berman. Now, for a word about next week's Quiet Please, here's my good friend Bill Cooper.
First, I must tell you that the characters on Quiet Please are not intended to represent any person living or dead, with the possible exception of Mr. Shakespeare. And there are certain people who doubt he lived anyway. The other characters are completely the children of my own imagination. And if you happen to have the same name as one of them, it isn't intended to be you. Quiet Please for next week is called 12 to 5.
Now, why did you have to be so legalistic, Mr. Cooper? Well, until next week at the same time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please comes to you from New York. This is the world's largest network, serving more than 450 radio stations, the Mutual Broadcasting System.